Have you ever wondered what the most visited website in the world is? If you guessed Google, you're not alone. For years, Google has dominated the internet landscape, with billions of users turning to the search engine giant to find answers to their questions. But what if I told you that Google's reign at the top of the internet kingdom was challenged by an upstart social media platform? In the mid-2000s, a new challenger emerged in the form of Facebook. And as the years went on, Facebook's popularity only continued to grow, leaving Google scrambling to catch up. That's right, Facebook managed to overtake Google as the most visited website in the world. But how did this happen? And what does it mean for the future of the internet? In this video, we'll take a deep dive into the epic battle between Google and Facebook for internet supremacy. Part 1. Google's first 5 attempts. Before Facebook became the social media giant that we know today, Google had already attempted to make its mark in the social media space. Unfortunately, despite several attempts, Google's social media initiatives were unable to gain traction with users. The first attempt by Google was Google Wave, which was launched in 2009. Google Wave was designed to be a real-time collaboration tool that combined email, instant messaging, and social networking. However, the platform was too complicated for most users, and it was eventually discontinued in 2012. Google's second attempt was Orkut, which was launched in 2004. Orkut was a social networking site that was popular in Brazil and India. However, it failed to gain traction in other countries and was eventually shut down in 2014. Google Buzz was Google's third attempt at social media. It was launched in 2010 as a social networking and messaging platform integrated with Gmail. However, Buzz was heavily criticized for privacy concerns and eventually discontinued in 2011. Google Friend Connect was Google's fourth attempt. It was launched in 2008 as a way for website owners to add social networking features to their sites. However, it failed to gain much traction and was eventually shut down in 2012. Google Plus was Google's fifth and most ambitious attempt at social media. Launched in 2011, Google Plus was designed to be a social network that integrated with all of Google's other services. Despite significant investment and promotion by Google, Google Plus struggled to attract users and was ultimately shut down in 2019. So why did Google's social media initiatives fail to gain traction? One reason is that Google was late to the game. So while Google may have failed in social media, it was still a major player in the tech industry. In the next part, we'll look at how Facebook's rise to dominance posed a threat to Google. Part 2. Fear of Facebook. As Facebook began to grow in popularity, Google began to worry about the potential threat it posed to its dominance in the tech industry. Facebook's ability to connect people and build communities through social media was something that Google had not been able to achieve with its own social media platforms. One of the main reasons for Google's fear of Facebook was its rapidly growing user base. By 2010, Facebook had already surpassed MySpace as the world's largest social networking site, with over 500 million active users. In contrast, Google's social media platforms had struggled to gain even a fraction of this user base. Another factor that contributed to Google's fear of Facebook was its ad revenue. Facebook's ability to collect and analyze data on its users made it an attractive platform for advertisers. By 2010, Facebook had already surpassed Yahoo as the largest display advertising network in the US. This posed a significant threat to Google, which relied heavily on advertising revenue for its own success. But perhaps the most significant factor contributing to Google's fear of Facebook was its ability to dominate the mobile market. By 2010, smartphones had begun to emerge as the dominant form of internet access. Facebook's mobile app had already become one of the most downloaded apps on both iOS and Android platforms. This was a major concern for Google, whose mobile platforms had struggled to gain traction with users. In response to these threats, Google began to shift its focus towards social search. In the next part, we'll look at how Google attempted to regain its footing with the launch of Google+. Part 3. The rise of Google. Despite its early struggles in the social media space, Google continued to dominate the search engine market, with over 90% of global search engine market share by 2010. It was clear that Google's core strength was in its ability to provide relevant and personalized search results to its users. However, as Facebook's user base continued to grow, Google knew that it needed to adapt to remain competitive. One of the ways that Google attempted to adapt was through the launch of Google+. In 2011, Google launched its own social media platform in an attempt to compete with Facebook. While Google+ never achieved the same level of success as Facebook, it did have some notable features, such as its integration with other Google products like Gmail and Google Drive. At its peak, Google Plus had around 500 million registered users. But perhaps the most significant factor contributing to Google's continued dominance was its focus on innovation. Google continued to invest heavily in new technologies and products, such as Google Maps, Google Translate, and Google Chrome. These products not only helped Google maintain its dominant position in the search engine market, but also allowed it to expand into new markets and industries. Another key factor in Google's success was its ability to monetize its search engine through advertising. By 2010, Google had already surpassed $20 billion in annual revenue, with the majority of that revenue coming from its advertising platform, Google AdWords. AdWords allowed advertisers to place targeted ads alongside search results, making it one of the most effective forms of online advertising. Overall, it was Google's combination of innovation, strategic acquisitions, and effective monetization strategies that helped it continue to rise in the tech industry, despite the threat of Facebook's dominance in the social media space. Part 4. The many problems of Google. Despite Google's continued success in the search engine and advertising markets, the company faced a number of challenges in the early 2010s that threatened to undermine its position as a tech industry leader. One of the biggest challenges that Google faced was the growing concern over user privacy and data security. In 2012, it was discovered that Google had been bypassing the privacy settings of users on Apple's Safari browser in order to track their online behavior. This led to a $22.5 million fine from the Federal Trade Commission and raised questions about Google's commitment to user privacy. Another issue that Google faced was the increasing competition in the smartphone market. While Google's Android operating system had become the most popular mobile operating system in the world by 2012, it faced stiff competition from Apple's iOS and other emerging players like Samsung. Google also faced criticism over its handling of search engine results. In 2012, it was revealed that Google had been favoring its own products and services in search results, leading to accusations of anti-competitive behavior. This eventually led to a settlement with the Federal Trade Commission in which Google agreed to change its search algorithms to be more fair and transparent. Another area of concern for Google was its growing dominance in certain markets. By 2013, Google had over 70% of the global search engine market share and over 80% in some countries. This led to concerns over a potential monopoly and antitrust violations. In 2017, Google was fined a record-breaking $2.7 billion by the European Union for antitrust violations related to its search engine and advertising practices. Overall, these and other challenges posed significant threats to Google's position as a tech industry leader and forced the company to reevaluate its practices and strategies in order to maintain its dominance. Part 5. Google versus social media. As social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter continued to grow in popularity in the late 2000s and early 2010s, Google faced new challenges in its quest for internet dominance. One of the biggest challenges came in the form of social media advertising. While Google had dominated the online advertising market for years, social media platforms began to offer a new way for advertisers to reach audiences through highly targeted ads. By 2017, Facebook had over 5 million active advertisers on its platform, compared to Google's 1 million. In addition to advertising, social media also posed a threat to Google's search engine dominance. With the rise of social media, many users were turning to platforms like Facebook and Twitter to find news and information, rather than conducting traditional web searches. This trend was especially prevalent among younger generations, with a 2015 study finding that 63% of millennials used Facebook and other social media platforms as their primary source of news. To combat the rise of social media, Google launched several initiatives aimed at boosting its social media presence. These included the launch of Google Plus, a social networking platform that aimed to compete with Facebook, and the integration of social media content into its search results. However, these efforts ultimately proved unsuccessful, with Google Plus shutting down in 2019 due to low user engagement. Despite these challenges, Google has continued to maintain its dominance in the search engine and online advertising markets. As of 2023, Google held over 90% of the global search engine market share and generated over $147 billion in advertising revenue. And that's the story of how Facebook managed to dethrone Google as the most visited website in the world. From Google's early attempts at social networking to Facebook's innovative features and growing user base, This battle for internet supremacy was one for the ages. But what does it all mean for the future of the internet? Will social media continue to dominate, or will search engines make a comeback? Only time will tell. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the rise and fall of two internet giants. Don't forget to let us know in the comments which platform you spend more time on, Google or Facebook.